Hey, seventh graders, guess what? It is our last week, and it's a short week. So we only have, once you finish this lesson, 2 more things to do, and then we will call it a wrap on the school year. It's week 14, can you believe it? 14 weeks of online lessons. We're in lesson 1, and on the textbook, we're on page 344 for today. All right, let's start off with a quiz. Overpopulation is already occurring in some parts of the world. True or false? So overpopulation is when the population is so large that there aren't enough resources for everyone to get what they need. So is that true or false? Do you think that's happening in the world already? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It is true, actually, unfortunately. And if you look at this map, I have the 10 most populated countries, and if you could look, I see we've got America, Mexico, Brazil, Russia, China, India, and I believe Indonesia, and a couple other countries that I honestly can't, so small I can't see. But so it's a problem already, and as we keep moving on this exponential growth, it's going to be a bigger problem. My nephew loves this YouTube channel, Kids Learning Tube. Their videos are pretty funny. I don't really think they have anything to do about science, but more about geography. Okay, so it is our last week. And even though I will stop teaching you on Wednesday, you still have time to hand in your grades. So I want to explain exactly how I did the grading because it was a little different since we were doing virtual learning. So here we go. We had 14 weeks of online learning. And each week, there was a homework assignment and a quiz. You had work on Wednesdays where you had your homework, and then on Friday, you had that little 5-question quiz. There was no work for week 1, and there was no quiz for week 4 and week 8. This is because we had vacations, or I think one of the weeks I had computer trouble. But every other week, except for week 1, week 4, and week 8, you had your homework and your quiz. We had 2 big quarterly quizzes on week 5 and week 10. That's when all you had to do was that 12-question quiz. So for each week, besides 5 and 10, you could earn a max of 10 points. That was 5 points for doing your homework and 5 points for doing the quiz. And again, except for week 4 and week 8, on those 2 weeks only, you could get 5 points only because for some reason we didn't have a quiz or homework. For our big quizzes, you could earn a max of 10 points for the big quizzes. All right, so let me show you what my gradebook looks like. So this is a screenshot from my gradebook. If you see W8, that stands for week 8. W9, that stands for week 9. So, also reminding you, week 5 was our big quiz. Week 10 was our other big quiz, but everything else was homework on Wednesday, quiz on Friday. So let's look at our grade book. So let me pull this up. So week 3, I see that this person has a 0. So what that means is they earned no points because there was no homework or quiz submitted. Right beneath it, that person for that assignment has a 5. So what they got were half points earned. Maybe they had homework but no quiz, or maybe they had a quiz but no homework. And if I look at week 6 at the very bottom, I see 10. That means that person earned full points. On that particular week, they handed in both their homework and their quiz. So max points possible. All right, so you rush off of this YouTube video, I hope you didn't leave yet, and you check Infinite Campus and Parent Portal and you don't like what you see. What can you do? You're disappointed with your grade. Well, you still have one more quiz on Wednesday for week 14 to boost your grade. So if you really wanted to like hit the 80s or the 90s, then don't ignore that quiz because that will help take you there. If that's not going to be enough, you can also go back and submit missing work from week 2 to 14 But, and this is a really important but, if you are submitting old work, so if you're going back and you are doing work from week 6, 7, and 8 because you just got lazy those couple weeks, that's fine. But you must message me on Schoology or email and tell me the week and the work you submitted. So you submit all of that into Schoology, and then you're going to message me on Schoology, hey, Miss Wistowski, I just did week 7 quiz and homework, week 8 quiz and homework, and week 9 quiz and homework. Because then I'll go back into Schoology and then I'll look. But I'm done with my grading, so I want to give you an opportunity to do better, but you have to take a little responsibility, and I'm willing for you to give you those grades, but you have to meet me halfway and tell me what you did, because I'm not going to go back and look at the grade book again. You have to tell me what work that you submitted. All right, so I hope that's fair. I feel like it's fair. If you see any mistakes or you have any further questions, of course, reach out and message me. Okay, so enough about that. Let's talk about today's goal for the lesson. So we are talking about balancing needs. So things that we need to survive and how can we do this in a responsible way. All right, let's review a little bit. Humans need resources to meet their basic needs like food, shelter, water, clothing. But using these resources reduces their amount, especially with an increased population. So we've learned that humans are experiencing exponential growth. That means as the population grows, we're reproducing faster, and there's more humans, we need to use more resources. So we're using them faster, and they're going down faster. So whether humans are using non-renewable or renewable energy and resources, remember non-renewable, once you're out, you're out. Renewable can replenish itself after a time. So whether or not humans are using non-renewable or renewable to get their energy or resources or needs, there is always a benefit cost or pro-con to each method. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's look back at solar power. Remember, you can have these cool solar cells that can sit in a sunny spot, and a bunch of the solar cells together are called solar panels. And what they do is they use sunlight and they convert it into electricity. So it's a nice clean energy and is better than burning coal because you have less pollution. So I would say a benefit of solar panels is cleaner renewable energy because again, the sun is always going to be there. So good clean energy. But remember, if there's a benefit, there's always going to be a cost too. So what's the cost of solar panels? Well, they're very expensive to install. So a lot of people don't have that much money just sitting around to put up solar panels. Once the solar panels are up, after a while they actually start to pay for themselves because you get so much energy, but you need that initial money to start with solar panels. So there's a benefit and there's a cost. All right, so because of this, we got to figure out a balance of that. The benefit doesn't outweigh the negatives and vice versa. So with overpopulation likely to increase around the world, we need to be more careful with our resources, and that's just because we're using them so quickly because we have so many people on Earth. The practice of using less of a resource so that it can last longer is called conservation. So let's think about water. There's lots of ways that we can conserve water by taking showers versus a bath that uses less water, by not running the faucet when you're brushing your teeth. That's going to help us conserve water because remember, we only have a limited amount of fresh water on Earth. So one way we can practice One way we can practice conservation is through sustainable use. So what does that mean? Sustainable use is using a set amount of a resource or energy in order to maintain them. So you're not taking too much out or using too much at a particular time. And that'll make it last longer. Think of like if you get a pair of sneakers. and you think these sneakers look really cool and they cost a lot of money and you want to keep them for a long time, you're not going to wear them every single day. They're going to get dirty, they're going to get worn, you might step in dog poop, gum, so you might only bust out these sneakers when you're like trying to impress somebody or look cool for school, and then if you're going to go run around and play soccer, you might use another pair. So that's like an example of sustainable use, so that your sneakers look better, they look cleaner, and they last longer. So we do this in nature too. I'm going to give you an example of sustainable fishing. So maybe you go, I don't know if you guys do grocery shopping yet, but maybe you've gone with your parents in the market and you're looking at the fish, and you might see this little like logo, it says certified sustainable food. Well, what does that mean? So this fish was fished using sustainable practices. So the fishing season is limited in sustainable fishing. So you may only be able to fish 3 months out of the whole year, and that's it. You're also only allowed to take a set number of fish. So, maybe you can't fish over 10,000 cod. And that's so that the population can replace itself. Because remember, we said a problem with fishing is that if you take too many fish out, there won't be enough to reproduce. Or, alternatively, maybe the fish that you're buying is raised on a fish farm. So that way you're not hurting the wild population, you're just breeding fish for the sole purpose of eating them, and you're not taking anything out of the wild. No matter what you do, that fish still looks extremely mad at you, but sustainable fishing is a good thing to consider when you're buying fish or eating sushi. Let me give you another example of sustainable use. Buildings covered in plants. So here's a building, and you can see that you have plants growing on the outside, but also inside of the building on the surface. So instead of having like bricks or paint, they allowed some room for plants to grow, which is really nice, because usually when you build a building, you remove the land so that you can build your house or building or mall. But this is a way to have your space, but also still keep space for plants to grow. And plants can absorb carbon dioxide, and that will help reduce pollution. All right, let's end it on a quiz. The practice of using less of a resource so that it can last longer is called A, renewable resources, B, alternative energy, C, conservation, or D, ecology. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to get rid of renewable resources because these are resources that can replenish themselves, but it's not anything to do with how we use that resource. I'm also going to get rid of alternative energy because that is energy that can be made with renewable resources, but again, it has nothing to do with how humans use these resources. So the correct answer is C, conservation. That is using less of a resource so it can last longer. Conservation of electricity, conservation of water, even conservation of land. All right, guys, that is it. You are officially finished with lesson 1. That means you only have 2 more things till the end of the school year. I will see you back here tomorrow.